It's Super Tuesday here at Digital Charcuterie, and that means we're talking superheroes. Hi guys, my name is James Razile. I'm joined with Joshua Lucas from the Den of Nerds, and if you like superhero movies, give us a subscribe to this channel because it really helps us out. And we are going to be talking superhero movies every Tuesday, and then as news drops throughout, every other day we'll talk about it as well. But today I'm joined with Josh. Like I said, how you doing, Josh?
I'm doing great, man. Another nor'easter. First day of spring in Philadelphia, and a winter storm is coming our way. I don't even understand it. I quite literally don't get it.
Up here in the Great White North, we have no white. That's the best part. It is.
Yeah, isn't that weird? Dude, what's this global warming? I think it's fake news.
Yeah, you got our normal. Actually, we haven't had a bad winter. Maybe last year was bad. I try to block the bad winters out of my mind. But we got a lot to talk about here today because as we were going on, Metacritic apparently dropped this a few weeks ago, but nobody knows about it until right now.
I know, right?
The Silver Surfer confirmed 100% to be in Avengers Infinity War. He is off with Hawkeye on an adventure in this movie. Josh, you've seen this article. Well, it's not an article. It's a cast listing from Metacritic.
Yeah.
What do you make of that?
Man, it's tough. It's either true, and how dare you, Metacritic, because I wanted to be surprised by this. So like that in and of itself sort of upsets me, or it's totally fake news. So I really don't know. Like, for instance, with IMDb, like anybody can get in there. With Wikipedia, anybody can get in there. And they do correct those things. They have a ton of different people that like go to correct these sort of things. But I don't know how Metacritic works. So if this is legit, if this is something that they had up there, which, what you just spoke to, it was a couple weeks ago when it originally went on, I can't believe it. Like it's troubling that that's the way that this news broke, if it indeed is breaking this way. But having said all of that, I'm excited that Silver Surfer is in the movie if he is, because I love that character. There's a great Dan Slott run that just got finished up. I actually own a Silver Surfer #1, and I love the idea of this character, and I would be excited to see him because honestly, it was one of the best parts of that shitty Fantastic Four movie. Was the Silver Surfer.
Yeah, and the thing, if you look at the Metacritic cast list, it all seems pretty legit. It has Captain Marvel on here, who one of the Russos anyway, confirmed to Entertainment Weekly that she will be in Infinity War, like officially confirmed that.
Yeah,
so
but there's stories earlier today of Disney coming out and saying that she is not in Infinity War.
Well, look, the EW article, apparently he claims that she is, so.
Well, maybe they're speaking of like the part 2, right? Like maybe because to them, Infinity War could still be part 1 and part 2, right? And there could be hey, look, there could be a post-credit scene with Silver Surfer and Carol Danvers. That could be the solution to this whole thing.
That's a great point because it was supposed to be Avengers Infinity War part 1 and part 2, and then what was that saga trilogy thing? That Allegiant, Divergent. It ruined it ruined part 1 and 2 for everybody. Harry Potter started off. Hunger Games Hunger Games, I felt the second one was not necessary either. And then everyone kind of got wise to the part 1s and parts 2, and we're like, we're not going out for part 2. You crazy? So, do you still think Avengers 4, whatever the hell it ends up being called, it's going to be a straight sequel to this though?
1,000% yes. 1,000% yes. And a lot of actors have sort of hinted at this a lot. Like it's so obvious. I think. I think. Honestly, I would love to hear someone argue the opposite. I'd love to hear someone, because I've heard people say like, oh, it's going to be Secret Wars. And I'm like, what? You're going to do Thanos after 10 years of waiting and setting this up. You're going to do Thanos collecting the gems. And then you're going to resolve that in one movie. And then Avengers 4, which you have that whole same cast coming back, is just going to be Secret Wars. Like, what are you talking about? That makes no sense. Or like Secret Invasion or any of those big event books. So to me, it doesn't make any sense. It's clearly going to be finishing the story of Thanos. I mean, you could think of it as like a 5 to 6 hour long movie. That's what we're getting with these two movies put together, and I think it just makes total sense. So yeah, I'm of the mind that and I always was. Even when they took that part 2 off, I was like, well, you're not fooling me. Yeah. I think that's what it is.
Yeah, I thought it was weird that it's Avengers too. Harry Potter, I think, would still be able to get away with it today. And I think Avengers is able to get away with it, whereas these other franchises aren't. Avengers is above those other ones in terms of.
Oh, for sure.
You're going to see these movies regardless. But the Secret War aspect to it, I got to bring this up. Is there a chance that could still play a part in the Thanos story?
Yeah, there certainly is. But because what's interesting is in the most recent iteration of Secret Wars, which was actually technically the third version of it, Thanos does play a semi-significant role. I mean, he's definitely a part of it. He's a cool character, and him and God Doom definitely have it out. So I could see that playing out. But the reason I think that would not work is because it detracts from Thanos' story. So, like, especially with what they're doing in this movie, it appears as though they are setting Thanos up as sort of a sympathetic villain. He wants to kill half the life in the universe in order to balance it. But what they're saying in the movie is that Thanos is doing this to actually protect all of the life within the universe, because it's sort of like, I think the way he views it is it's either half or everybody. And so in order for half of the universe to be alive and for balance to be established, he has to kill half of them. And so that's what he's going on to do with the gauntlet. So if that's his quest, and then you get Secret Wars, which is like a totally different thing, I just really don't see how you connect Thanos' quest to Secret Wars and pay off the journey of this character, which by all rights we're just being introduced to. I mean, he was in Guardians, he's at the end of Avengers, but really not at all. So this is really our introduction to this character. So everything in me as a writer, as a storyteller, is like, no, that makes no sense.
Yeah, and also the Russo brothers confirmed that Thanos and Thor have the most screen time. Well, I don't know if they said Thor. They did say the one thing we talked about months ago, where it was going to be through the eyes of Thanos, that this movie really is his movie.
Yeah.
And they did say Thor plays a big... I don't think they necessarily said he is in it the most, but he plays a significant role in this, which is intriguing too, because in the trailers, Thor has kind of been... He's separate from everything else that's going on.
Yeah, and I think what I think they're saying with that too, honestly, is that Thor's going to be sort of on his own thing, and getting like the new weapon and having his sort of, now he's the king of Asgard. But think about this, bro. We're pretty sure that Loki's going to die, right? Yeah. So you're talking about a guy who just lost his father, he lost his mother, he lost his brother. He is all alone. His people are like barely a people, just a small group of refugees, and this Thanos dude is, just trying to like have his way with his other family, which would be the Avengers. And I think the way that I see this going down is that Thor will be sort of peripheral in the story for the first movie, but in the second movie he will have a huge emphasis put on him, because he'll be like Odin Force Thor. He'll be like the most badass version of Thor we've seen in the MCU, and he'll be a heavy hitter on the level of like Carol Danvers and Doctor Strange, because in the second half of this part story, you're going to have incredibly powerful Avengers. Like, the Avengers are going to get upgrades, which we already see from even the first movie. But beyond that, in the second movie, they're really going to need to bring a lot of power. And I think that Thor will carry the legacy of the Phase 1 films, because both Captain America and Iron Man are going to die, and Thor will be the only one left of the Trinity. And so I think that's sort of where that's at. And that's why the Russos are making that statement. Like, when they say focus, I think it's from a story thread perspective. And in the fourth movie, because you think about this, you have to, when you look at these things, when you and I do this as a living, right, where we do this content creation stuff. So like, one of the things we have to do is really try to get in the heads of the actors and the producers and the directors. They're wrapping Avengers 4 right now. So even though they're talking about Avengers 3, they're fresh in their mind is Avengers 4, which is the continuation of the story they're about to tell. So for me, some of the stuff they say, I think is a spoiler, not for this movie, but for the next movie. So that's kind of like where my head's at with it.
I got a side Akbar here. That Casey Jones mask. I love that thing, man.
Yeah, man. Hey, maybe someday we'll ship one of these to Canada, but the shipping's probably expensive.
It would probably cost twice as much to ship it than it would have to actually pay for the thing.
Yep.
That's how it is. How would you, so Avengers 1, Avengers 2, how would you see Silver Surfer if he is in fact in, first of all, let's slash this in half.
Yeah.
Are the rights for Silver Surfer at Disney right now? Okay,
so this is where it gets kind of weird, right? Because as far as we know, no.
Yeah.
But there was all sorts of stuff. Like, I remember even last year, and it was early last year, borderline 2 years ago, where Joe Quesada came out and said, no, we've got Namor rights. And everyone was like, what?
Yeah.
You've got the rights to Namor? Like, that's big news, man. Like, that's a Fox thing, right? And so, look, there are, because, and this is where it gets all lawyery, and I'm not a lawyer. You know, I've got my lawyer, Rob McPhee, over here, and, you know, he's like, no comment, plead the fifth, all that. 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth. But when it comes to the Silver Surfer, when it comes to these character rights, if a character appears in different titles, like, for instance, let's talk about the Skrulls. So the Skrulls, if they're an Avengers Skrull, Marvel has the rights to them. If they are a Fantastic Four Skrull, which is like the Super Skrull, and I believe, oh man, I'm blanking on that one shapeshifter dude from the Runaways. It doesn't matter. So if they are a Skrull that represents those characters, Marvel cannot use them, right? And so the Silver Surfer may be one of those characters which they decided, because he's in Avengers books, because he's in books with Thanos. I mean, for goodness sakes, like the Hulk being thrown into the Sanctum in ThanoQuest book, that's the Silver Surfer. The Silver Surfer is thrown into the Sanctum, and Doctor Strange's like, hey, what's up, bro? And Silver Surfer's like, Thanos is coming, we're all totally screwed. And so that'll be what Hulk does in the movie. But so it could be one of those things where maybe Marvel does have the rights to it. There's also a possibility, and I sort of went into this in the video I did while you were making pasta sauce or something. So I did a little, like, short little video just breaking down the story. It is also possible that, considering the looming purchase, right, that Disney could be kind of emboldened and be like, well, screw it. Let's just put him in the movie. What's Fox going to do? You know what I mean? Like, what are they going to do? Are they going to sue us? We're about to own them in 6 months. You know what I mean? And so they could do that technically. And like what I said in the video, and this is what I truly believe, there's nothing necessarily that stops them from doing something like that. The repercussions of that is where it gets messy, right? So like Fox would see this and be like, oh, I'll lawyer up, and like get all their lawyers, and then, you know, they're doing that sort of thing. But by the time that legal process was finished, Fox might literally have their assets purchased by Disney, which is the parent company, of course, of Marvel Studios. So that's my answer.
Yeah, which is completely different from when Joss Whedon wanted to put Spider-Man at the end of Avengers Age of Ultron. If you remember, the new Avengers team is assembling. Yeah. And he wanted to have the Spidey arm come and shoot out a webbing, and that was going to be it. But they hadn't finalized the deal with Sony yet, so he couldn't do it when he wanted to. And
well, at the end of the first Avengers film, there was supposed to be an Oscorp tower. They were actually playing nice with Sony, and Sony was like, yeah, whatever, go ahead, throw the Oscorp tower in there, and they couldn't quite finalize that deal. So it's not outside of the realm of possibilities.
Yeah. Okay, so continuing on with the Silver Surfer, I should say.
Yes.
How could you see him fitting in? Because obviously you just said Hulk Banner is going to play his role in that aspect of it. But how would you see the Silver Surfer playing out? And would it make more sense for him to be an Easter egg and then play out further in part 2? We'll just call it part 2 for now.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. There's a number of different things that they could do. If what he is doing, he being Thanos, is affecting the cosmos in such a way that, like, everybody's got laser focus on this. I mean, like, for instance, Galactus, right? Like, Galactus could just be like, hey, man, you're killing half the life in the universe. That could be planets that have life or something. You know what I mean? Like, maybe Galactus doesn't want that going down. He could get involved. Like Eternity, some of the Eternals, the Celestials, all sorts of higher level Marvel characters could take notice of what Thanos is doing, which, by the way, they definitely do that in the Thanos Quest storyline. So they could utilize the Silver Surfer in a capacity that sort of represents the higher levels of power that be in the cosmos, coming in to be like, Thanos, this is not okay. I think another interesting thing, it sort of depends on what version of the was it Norrin Rand? Is that the Silver Surfer? Rob, Norrin Rand? It depends on like where they pick up with this character, how they want to treat him in the MCU. If he's already separated from Galactus, then I mean, like, all bets are off. Who knows? He just might be acting independently. If he's still the Herald of Galactus, you would think it would have to be Galactus sort of pulling the strings and being like, you know, go stop this from happening or something like that. So,
yeah, like that. Dude, I just, for me, when I looked at this, I don't buy into it right now. There's something about it. Yeah, it's Metacritic. It's on there, and it's subtle too. That's the thing. Like, it's just kind of like it's in there,
Right.
but I can't latch onto it right now, and I don't know if it's because I don't want to be disappointed. Why? Not that I don't think this would distract me from from enjoying Infinity War whatsoever. But you know what I mean? There's something about it that I can't totally buy into right now. How about yourself?
I kind of want it to be true. I really, really like the Silver Surfer, and he's also a character that's strong enough to really mess with Thanos. I think if you have him working in conjunction with like Doc Strange, Captain Marvel, Odin Force Thor, Hulk, I think he just really adds a level to that power. I do find the character visually looks great. I mean, Feige was a producer on that movie with the Fantastic Four, and so he looks freaking awesome in that movie. Even though that movie's whack, the imagery and honestly, James Earl Jones does a great job with the voice.
Lawrence Fishburne.
What?
Lawrence Fishburne.
Yeah, that guy, Lawrence Fishburne.
Perry White, man. Perry White.
Well, you know what? It should have been James Earl Jones, and I take back what I said about Perry White. He did a terrible job. So yeah, that would be cool. You bring him in, that could be awesome. Do I buy it? Nah, not at all. The Den of Shills broke this story about 25 minutes ago, and those guys are just Disney fluffers. You know what I mean? So like, I can't believe anything that Josh Lucas guy says. So I'd probably say no.
Yeah,
but I'm hopeful. But like I said, even at this point, even if it happens, I'm pissed because I want to be surprised. I tell you this, I think that it's very possible that they are holding on to this level of a surprise, of a shock. And if someone ruins it, man, I'm gonna be pissed.
It's there's gonna be a surprise like that in here for sure. And I gotta say right now, so the trailer dropped on Friday for Infinity War. I did a reaction to it. Thanks everybody that watched it. And then I went snowboarding.
Yeah.
I left. Whatever. I was gone. I had no access to knowing that tickets were on sale until 10 o'clock that night.
So wait, where are your tickets?
I don't have them.
Ooh, that's rough.
I couldn't go. Well, there was some available Thursday night, but I didn't feel like going at 11 o'clock. So I might go. I'm going to go see it. I'll do a review on this channel as soon as I do see it, but I'll see it within the first 2 days for sure. So, Josh, no spoiler reviews on your channel until after I watch it.
You don't have to worry about that. You have to worry about the phone call I send you because A, it'll cost you about $200.
Yeah, that's true.
B, I'm going to be like, spoiler, like as soon as I get up.
I was so pissed because I honestly had no idea that tickets went on sale. I had no idea. I got in from boarding at 10 p.m. It was a long day, and I'm out of shape, and I'm in a lot of pain. And people were like, got my tickets. I was like, tickets? What?
Yeah.
And, so I don't have them yet, but there are some reserved for me for Friday. But I might go first thing in the morning on Friday and just do a quick review on the channel.
Can I tell all your subscribers a sad but kind of funny story?
Yeah, sure.
So when we went to see Black Panther, I usually buy tickets for all my friends. I buy the tickets for the group of friends. That'll probably never happen again. So check this out. So we're getting to the theater and someone's like, yeah, Tim and Alex are there. And I'm like, oh, Tim and Alex. And then I'm thinking, wait a minute, Tim. And I'm doing the math in my head. And I'm like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then Tim. And I'm like, wait a minute. Oh, no. Was I supposed to buy Tim a ticket? Right. And so I walk into the theater and we're all really excited. And Tim is there with this big slushie and this thing popcorn. And I'm like, and I go right up to him and I said, Tim, was I supposed to get you a ticket for this movie? And I'm being 1,000% serious. And he goes, yeah. And I was like, ooh. And immediately I felt terrible. Not terrible enough to give up my ticket, but terrible. And so he was like, oh, it's cool, whatever, and walked out. And I was just guilt-ridden the whole night. And I ended up watching Black Panther, and it was good. But, yeah, that's my story.
Oh, man. I didn't see Black Panther for a week after it's released, 2 weeks after, because I was in another country. Every time a Marvel movie comes out, I'm in another country or something like that.
Yeah, you must be like planning that. What are you doing?
Has to. Actually, Winter Soldier, I was in Cuba as well for that one.
Really?
I came back. Yeah, I came back to all these Hail Hydra memes, and I said to Erin, my wife, I'm like, Erin, we have to go right now because I do not know what's going on, and I don't want to be ruined. And then as soon as someone said Hail Hydra, I was like, the memes, got it.
Oh man! As soon as Robert Redford said "Hail Hydra," I knew the nerds had won. So that was awesome.
Great, fantastic movie. All right, let's move on to even better movies. The DCEU, or the DC movies, or whatever the hell they're referred to as these days. The movies with Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman that no one went to go see because Justice League is the lowest grossing DCEU, quote unquote DCEU film of all time officially. Josh, a couple weeks ago, we talked about the bad news for the DCEU, and you said, what if the bad news is, and I don't think this is what it's going to be, but what if the bad news is they're dissolving the DCEU?
Right.
And just doing standalones. And I said, well, would anyone care? And you said yes. I have to just pad on my argument of would anyone care by saying, but no one went to go see the Justice League.
Right. Yeah. Look, you're not wrong.
I would care because I actually, wrongfully of me, but I enjoy most of these movies.
Yeah, maybe it's the opposite of that. Maybe it's the fact that they won't reboot it, and that's the really bad news. But I don't know, man. When it comes to the DC, when it comes to Justice League, it's like, look, that was the lowest grossing. That talk about a bad trend. Like, you just honestly, you can't make this stuff up. The Justice League, over 75 years of comic book history. The big three: Batman, Wonder Woman, Superman. Just a Goliath of recognizability. And it's Batman, right? Like, you slap Batman on anything, it should sell it. And yet, it's the lowest grossing movie of the entire DCEU. I mean, that's just so many people should have been fired. Like, not enough people have been fired for this. And Kevin Tsuchihara got his bonus. You know what I mean? Good for you, Kevin. Can I swear on here? I don't really want to.
You can swear.
You motherfucker, Kevin Tsuchihara. What were you doing? Honestly, you're an ass. Anyways, sorry. But that's honestly how I feel about it. It's a ridiculous situation. Moving forward, what can we glean? Like, what can we learn from this situation? One of the things that I've been talking about on my show recently is when you look at the movies that they are putting focus into, when you look at a Wonder Woman 2, when you look at a Shazam, when you look at the New Gods movie, all of these movies have in common this mythic storytelling element, this idea of the gods and this prestige and all of that, Shakespearean type stuff. And I think that that's always sort of been what the DC heroes are, as compared to the Marvel heroes, which are the grittier, living in New York, actually on the West Coast, like the West Coast Avengers. They're kind of in real life. DC has always been sort of a pantheon, sort of a Greek god sort of thing. And so if DC decides to sort of shift into that direction, that could be very good. But I don't know if you can remove the stink of a lot of these films. So I almost think they need to reboot, and they probably will not, simply because of the Wonder Woman character. There's no movement on the Batman movie. Matt hasn't even turned in a script.
Apparently they're starting production in 2019. That's
what they're saying, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but like if you watch, some of the stuff Campy has been saying, it's like, well, he was supposed to have a script turned in a long time ago. And I think what Campy is speculating is that certain decisions that are being made are preventing him from being able to know what direction to take his story in, which is a shame. So I don't know about all that, man.
And the great thing about the DCEU is Avengers Infinity War just broke the record for most pre-sale tickets for a superhero movie.
Yeah.
Do you know what movie it just beat?
Batman v Superman.
Batman v Superman. So what you were saying about Batman is 100% true. People were excited for Batman v Superman.
Yep.
And
including myself.
And I was one of 7 people to walk away saying, I enjoyed that movie. I was one of 7.
But yeah, it's such a weird thing, man. Some people really like that movie, and that's okay. That's fine. Do you know who... yeah, it's okay. Look, you can be wrong. Have you ever heard of Mr. Wizard World, Victor Dandridge?
I think you've mentioned him to me, yes.
Yeah. So he does all their panels. He's huge on social media. He's just this really popular dude. Mad love for you, Victor. But Victor and I argued so much about DC films versus Marvel films. These DC fanboys sometimes, man, they just cannot see the reality of a situation. That Martha moment to me is one of the worst moments in cinema history. That was absurd. That was absurdly bad to me.
So I'll agree, but in the Civil War movie, I also do not like Tony Stark's reaction to the end when he's like to Bucky with "You killed my parents." To me, that's on.
This interview is over.
That's on par with the Martha moment for me. Tony Stark would not like it. Just I don't know. It was like so forced for me. But that being said, I don't really. I'm not like. I don't love DC over MCU. And I don't love MCU over I just show me a movie so I can enjoy it because I just want to watch superheroes on the screen running around like this.
Yeah, for sure. You can't. I don't even think you can really compare the two, right?
No, that's a problem.
Yeah, that's the problem. I mean, it's the current slate of the DC films. I mean, you've got the Academy Award-winning Suicide Squad. You know what I mean? You've got Batman v Superman. You've got Justice League. Those are three of like the worst edited feature films I've ever seen. So I mean, like you have those are like the three of those movies. Wonder Woman is the only one that's, in my opinion, really great. Actually, that's not true. I love Man of Steel.
Yeah,
I absolutely love Man of Steel. So I like those two movies, but that's pretty much it, right? That's all their movies.
Man of Steel, I think is. I don't know why I think it's amazing. And you know what? When I saw it in the theater for the first time, I was not blown away. And then Erin bought it for me as a gift because I kept saying I wanted to watch it for like a month.
Yeah.
And it was on Blu-ray, and she bought it for me, and I watched it I think every day for like 6 months.
Wow.
Parts of it. I was literally like I'd watch it so much she would just walk in. I'd be on my iPad, and she's like, "You need to stop." It wasn't the whole movie. I'd watch pieces of it.
That score,
so good.
God, so good, yeah.
And then it was all downhill from there.
Yep.
And I don't know what.
But it was wrong. Warner Brothers. It was Warner Brothers tinkering, man. I mean, like, look, Zack was not. He didn't design Man of Steel to be the start of a universe. And then he was working on Man of Steel 2, and they were like, "How about a little Batman? How about just sprinkle a little Batman in there?" And then all of a sudden, it's like, no, it's a Batman movie. Batman comes first in the title. It's Batman v Superman. Ben Affleck's Batman, and then they started throwing all this stuff at him. And to his credit, he was such a good sport about it. He did everything he could to try to create a good movie. The extended cut of Batman v Superman is like 10 times better of a movie than the theatrical cut. But that's like turning in an assignment late. You don't get credit for it. So,
on that note, I want to go to it was a comment in a comment section. I'm going to read it to you because it kind of has to deal with what we were just talking about. So I'll read it. This one comes from Joao. Hello, I'd like to know why DC movies always have extra footage, and if those extra footage makes DC movies better than Marvel movies without the extra footage, they might as well have. Will Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice Ultimate Edition and Justice League Snyder Cut leave DC movies better than Marvel, and why doesn't anyone mention the extra footage of Wonder Woman? Maybe the Wonder Woman movie would be even better. Thank you for your attention. Ciao, Joao. Thank you very much, Joao. What do you think of that, Josh?
I mean, it's an interesting question. I think that at the end of the day, Marvel films probably do have just as many scenes, like extra scenes and stuff like that. It's just not like a super high priority for them to put out. It's not something that people are very interested in. I also believe that, when it comes to the effects, you only really put your final touches, your final polished effects on stuff that is going to be in the film. So while the DC films, if you look at a lot of the scenes, like when I talk about the extended for Batman v Superman, it's not more dark side or it's not more fighting at the end of the movie that I'm talking about. I'm talking about little moments with Clark. You know what I mean? Little moments with Lois, more introspective moments even with Bruce. And so little moments like that. And in general, I think Zack is sort of a epic storyteller, and so he makes really long movies. And so it could just be a simple thing where it's like, well, you're talking about 3 of their biggest movies are all done by a guy who really likes to hit towards the 3 to 4 hour mark in his raw or his first cuts. And so I think it's just a simple creative thing. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if there's extra footage of Wonder Woman, and I certainly don't think that the quality of a movie can be at all attributed to what's on the cutting room floor. What you see on the screen is what you get. That is what a movie should be judged by. And there's almost no movies in the MCU that I think are poor in quality when you just watch them. And so that's sort of my answer to that question. I don't know. What do you think about that?
I think, like you said, every film has the deleted scenes. Every film has extra footage. The problem with the DCEU movies, the Zack Snyder one specifically, is they're leaving a lot of that footage on the cutting room floor. And then with Dawn of Justice, we got a much better movie. Even someone who liked it the first time, when I watched that one, I was like, oh, this is much better. The question is, and that's when you look at it and you say, well, whose fault is this movie to begin with? I still don't think it would have been overly loved by everybody. I know comic book hardcores really like, a lot of them like the extended cut of Batman v Superman a lot more than the theatrical cut. But I don't think a lot of average film goers are going to care. You know what I mean? I think they're into it. I think it's too dark and too moody, and there's too much going on for. They don't want that. They want a nice 2-hour movie of Batman, Adam West running around. Not Adam West. But they want Superman to be colorful and cheery more than he's mopey and drowsy, The question for me that I ask Warner Brothers is, who the hell is giving the okay on these scripts?
Right.
Because, Zack Snyder can come in and pitch you Batman v Superman. You'll be like, that was an awesome pitch. Yes, make that movie. Make it. Because his pitch was probably great for it, right? Because if you think of the story that he wanted to tell, it's pretty cool. So, yeah, do it. And then he has like a 150-page script. Anybody that knows movie making knows it's a page a minute. That's 150 minutes. He's not making an hour and a half, 2-hour movie with a 150-page, 160-page script. So who is the guy that said, yeah, okay, this is okay, go shoot it. And then when they bring it in, they're like, how is this 150 minutes long? We can't have a movie that long. That's where the problem stems, because if you're not going to allow a movie to be that long, exit from the start and say, redo it. We need it to be 120 pages. Go make your movie.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I think, there's like so many layers to it. It's like producers, writers, all that sort of thing. So like Watchmen is, I believe, 240, right? It's close to 240. And yet that movie feels like it flies by because it's so well crafted. And honestly, a lot of that has to do with the groundwork that's laid by, Dave Gibbons and Alan Moore. I mean, they created that archetype for that story that was already sort of there. But I thought Zach did a perfect job hitting all those points and tightening it up. And yet there is still an extended director's cut with different scenes. And so it could just be his process. You know what I mean? Like some sculptors put the clay on the wire. Some sculptors knock away stone from the block. You know what I mean? It's either reductive or, additive. It just comes down to how the artist decides to make it. I think specifically with the question that he had, it's like, it majorly has to do with Zach. It is his process. That's how he does it. So,
yeah. So, a question for you, Josh. What film would you watch tomorrow? Batman v Superman theatrical cut, Spider-Man 3.
That theatrical cut, 100%. I actually really like that theatrical cut. I really do. I check it out at home occasionally. There's a lot of good stuff in there, man. I really do like that movie, and I like Henry Cavill as both Clark and Superman. So, yeah, I like that. Spider-Man 2 or Spider-Man 3, no way. Rob's over there shaking his head. He's not a big fan of Cavill as Superman.
Really? Okay. I think he's fantastic, and he's getting shortchanged on a lot of it, I think.
Yeah, definitely. That's
what I think, because I think his persona is like, you feel, even though he's not American, you feel like, and I'm not either, but you feel like that true American, like what Superman represented way back when.
For sure. But you know what I didn't like was in Justice League how they were just trying to act like there wasn't this other version of this character established in their universe, where they're just like, oh no, he's just all jolly and good and truth, justice, the American way. I was like, bro, they just decided to do that. You know what I mean? And there's like some funny Superman stuff in there, but you're kind of slapping your audience in the face and being like, ignore that other stuff. You know what I mean? So,
and that's the retconning that Warner Brothers wants to do over there for it, right?
Yeah,
that's what it is. Let's talk, because those movies are so Marvel, Disney is leaving Netflix in 2019, only a year away. they're like, or probably a year and a half, or whatever. And they're like, get out of here. So no more Marvel shows on Netflix, I'd imagine.
I have not heard that actually, because I think the way that that works is as long as Netflix continues to make them, they can make them. They licensed the rights to continue to make those shows. Now Marvel could, I mean, look, it's Marvel. Disney, by the way, history lesson for all your young viewers. I heard you have an audience of like 16 to 17-year-old young girls. So check it out, young ladies. I want to school you on some stuff here. Disney has literally changed copyright laws before. They have lobbied and changed copyright laws to do that. $250,000 up to 5 years in prison. Yeah, does that seem a little harsh? That's the mouse. That is the mouse and its power to literally change the law to protect its own interests. So, you know, you asked me that question. I wouldn't put it past them to do anything they wanted, quite frankly.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so even if Netflix can do it, they can't bring any new characters in. They're not going to have the Avengers movies anymore. I don't know about your Netflix, but my Netflix, we used to have Thor and Captain America and Iron Man. They are no longer here, but we still have all the new ones are in though, but the old ones you can't get. Yeah. So my question, but now DC movies are filling up on Netflix. They're filling up. I was like, Batman v Superman's on there. This is the Canadian Netflix. We're better than you now. It used to be so reverse, man. I used to get like a fake, DNA and pretend, or whatever, and pretend that I was an American account so I can get American Netflix. And now I'm like, I don't want your Netflix. Yeah. But yeah, so we got that. I think Man of Steel's on there, but they're slowly, and they're pushing them too. They're like, this is what we want you to watch. Is Batman v Superman. Watch it.
Yeah.
And I started
because you watched the Ninja Turtles.
All I watch is Ninja Turtles 2 Out of the Shadows. Everyone knows that.
Yeah.
My question is that a good place, do you think, for the DCU to live on Netflix?
You know what's interesting? I broke a story earlier in the week on my show about how I think Netflix should purchase Warner Brothers or the assets to Warner Brothers. And some people said some interesting things about that in the comment section. Some agreed, some didn't. But in all seriousness, that could work. I would be interested to see how that studio would approach it. Now, look, Netflix, you tend to think that Netflix is like the darker, grittier side of things, right? And DC and Warner Brothers, they've kind of like showcased how that's not working so well with like the Goyer vision. But Netflix, A, has the money, and B, could do some very interesting things with releasing things, you know what I mean? Doing surprises around other comic book events or whatever. And so I would be interested. I trust Netflix as a company way more than I'm trusting Warner Brothers right now. So I don't know. I mean, I think that would be an interesting thing. But since you were the one who actually originated that theory, what do you think about it?
Because I originated that, I want it. No, like I said, I was watching it. No one's going to the theater to watch Justice League. Nobody went. So if Netflix were to purchase it, which would be phenomenal if they got the rights to those DC characters, I think would be great. They could do series, they could do, and if they decide to do, okay, you know what, Batman warrants a film because Batman, is the god at DC. Batman warrants a film. Let's make a Batman film. Okay, here's your Batman film. We'll put it out in the theater, but like a week later, it's on Netflix. So you make up your mind if you're ready, and people will go to the theater to watch Batman.
Yeah, 100%.
But not now. But
no,
I think they will.
I think they could do a combination of things. One of the things I spoke to was like, look, Netflix is trying to become more prestigious as a studio when it comes to like awards and different things like that. So yes, they could do theatrical releases, and then instead of that 6-month wait to Blu-ray digital download, it's like 2 months and it's on Netflix. Yeah. That would be great for them. Honestly, that would be a great idea. But even beyond that, they could split up their programming, have some movies go straight to Netflix, and then have bigger budgeted ones go into the theaters. And they could really create an interesting way to connect the tissue.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I think that's the best way. And then you can have your different genres also. And you can do the dark and gritty ones as series. And then you can have your happy-go-lucky Supermans as theatrical films. Makes perfect sense. All right. Let's move on to our last question here. This one comes from Reverse on Adala. Why do you think neither DC or Marvel ever has their shit together to execute a good Fantastic Four movie, but Pixar can do it perfectly with The Incredibles in under 90 minutes? Josh? Well,
it's because they don't understand the DNA of it. The DNA of the Fantastic Four is that it's a family. So the reason that Brad Bird and Pixar nailed that is because they were like, no, it's about family. The family dynamic is what creates it. And so if you look at all the iterations of the Fantastic Four, they never seem to get that part of it right. They always want to focus on the powers. They want to focus on the bombastic nature of the thing. You know, the excitement, the Reed Richards, you know, is so interesting. You know, he's rich. Oh, dude, Johnny Storm is such a cocky dude. Like, this is so interesting. But it's about family. And so because they have never understood the core principles of what made that so great, they were never able to replicate it properly. And even doing a postmodern version of that, which, by the way, all sorts of shows, all sorts of books, mediums have done new postmodern versions of family. I think Modern Family does a great job of this. You know what I mean? So you can have a family dynamic in a modern setting and have it still work. The problem is they don't know that that's what they need to be doing. So that's, in my opinion, why.
Yeah, that's a good point. Actually, the Josh Trank Fantastic Four, I thought the first 45 minutes or so was good.
Yeah, the first part of the film's great, and then you can literally see when the studio was like, let's change it up. Time skip.
Yeah, it's just like, and then the ending is so like tacked on. Like, hey,
I never even got to the ending, bro. Oh. I've never gotten to the end of that movie. I'm like, nah.
Neither did Trank. So
it's the Joshes. The Joshes can't do it.
Yeah, the Josh can't do it. No, I agree. I think you got to focus on family, and that's what The Incredibles did so well, and that's what hopefully The Incredibles 2 will do as well. People, you lose sight of it when you're like, I'm making a superhero movie, and you make it all about the action, the explosions. You forget the little beats that go into a Justice League.
Yeah, because they want to sell toys, and they want to have licensing and apparel and all these different things, and I get it, but if you don't understand the DNA of the thing, it's really hard to replicate. You know what I mean?
Exactly. All right, Josh, thanks so much for joining me here on Super Tuesday. Anything you want to plug to anybody watching that's actually not already on your channel?
No, I mean, if you guys aren't aware, you know, the Den of Nerds is a YouTube channel. They do some things over there. I'm sort of involved. There's a show we do 5 days a week, which is kind of fun. Nerd Stock Star Wars is a great show on Sunday nights. I did an interview with Xena Duncan, which was awesome. She's a great cosplayer and a hell of a Star Wars fan and a cool lady. So I would recommend everyone go check that interview out. Give her some love on social media. Not hate, love.
That was a great interview, actually. Yeah, check out the Den of Nerds. And everyone, thanks so much for watching this episode of Super Tuesday. If you're new to the channel, please give us a subscribe. We do this every week, and Josh is going to be here every week. He doesn't know it yet.
I'm going to have to call my agent. I'm going to have to call my agent.
Your lawyer's right over there. You can get him on.
Yeah, Rob left.
Oh, he's gone. You're in.
After I said the Henry Cavill thing, he stormed up.
All right, guys, thanks so much for watching. Give us a like if you like this video. And until next time, ciao for now.
8 out of 10 times.